Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Depending on where you are in this world, God bless you. This is Gloria White, coming to you from Utah, USA. Today we're going to continue through the Bible, and we are in the outline. Chapters 1, Genealogy and Record of Birth, Virgin Birth of Jesus. Chapter 2, Visit of Wise Men, Flight to Egypt, Return to Nazareth. Chapter 3, John the Baptist, forerunner of King, announces kingdom and baptizes Jesus the King. Chapter 4, Testing the King in Wilderness. Testing of the King in Wilderness. Begins public ministry at Capernaum, calls disciples. Chapters 5 through 7, the Sermon on the Mount. 1, relationship of subjects of kingdom to self. And 2, relationship of subjects of kingdom to law. 3, relationship of subjects to kingdom to God. Number 4, relationship of children of king to each other. Chapter 8, 6 miracles of king demonstrate his dynamic to enforce ethics of Sermon on Mount. Chapter 9, performs 6 more miracles, calls Matthew, contends with Pharisees. Chapter 10, Jesus commissions 12 to preach gospel of the kingdom to nation Israel. Chapter 11, quizzed by disciples of John, rejects unrepentant cities, issues new invitations to individuals. Chapter 12, conflict and final break of Jesus with religious rulers. Chapter 13, mystery parables of kingdom of heaven. Chapter 14, John the Baptist beheaded. Jesus feeds 5,000, sends disciples into storm at sea, walks on water to them. Chapter 15, Jesus denounces scribes and Pharisees, heals daughter of Syrophoenician woman and multitudes, feeds 4,000. Chapter 16, conflict with Pharisees and Sadducees, confession from disciples, Peter's spokesman. Jesus first confronts them with church, his death and resurrection. 17 is the transfiguration, demon-possessed boy, tax money provided by miracle. Chapter 18, little child, lost sheep, conduct in coming church, parable on forgiveness. Chapter 19, God's standard for marriage and divorce, little children blessed, rich young ruler, apostles' position in coming kingdom. Chapter 20, parable of laborers in vineyard. Jesus makes 4th and 5th announcement of his approaching death. Mother request places of honor for James and John. Jesus restores sight to 2 men. Chapter 21, King offers himself publicly and finally to nation, cleanses temple, curses fig tree, condemns religious rulers with parables of 2 sons and householder. Chapter 22, parable of marriage feast for king's son. Jesus answers and silences Herodians, Sadducees, and Pharisees. Chapter 23, Jesus warns against and pronounces woes upon scribes and Pharisees, weeps over Jerusalem. Chapter 24 through 25 is the Olivet Discourse. Jesus answers questions about the sign of the end of the age and the sign of his coming. Parable of 10 virgins, parable of 8 talents, judgment of sheep and goat nations. Chapter 26. Jesus plotted against, anointed by Mary of Bethany, sold by Judas, observes last Passover and first Lord's Supper, agonizes in Gethsemane, arrested and tried by religious rulers, disowned by Peter. Chapter 27. Trial, death, and burial of the King. Chapter 28. Resurrection of the King and his great commission. And that's all I'm going to put on there, is just the overview of the chapters in Matthew, the book of Matthew, the first gospel. And as always, I love you. And now we're going to go into chapter 1 next. Whoops, I don't know what I'm doing.